So I just got off of work and it's day 69 of quarantine. I'm wondering, what do? I decide to grab some pineapples, blend up a rum, pineapple kind of concoction drink, and drink the whole thing. And what's the first thing that comes to my mind? Well, I'm gay and it's quarantine. So anime. Well, anime, typical anime. JoJo's. Yeah, I've seen JoJo's. I've watched all the seasons. Well, maybe I could read the manga. Well, no, I'm kind of curious about something else. Has anyone noticed how big their bulges are? Well, actually, they aren't big at all, but if they were, whose would be the biggest? Now, this is what led me to the Bulge experiments, where in this case, we were looking at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically the Joestars. Now, I might go a little bit further into some other characters, but that's for later. So, going into this one, there's going to be two phases to this experiment. Phase one will be my genuine first reaction as to what I think each character's member sizes in many different ways, and phase two will be a scientific look at how big one's member could be based off of ethnicity or other attributes that might be focused on bulge size. So first, a little bit about me. I have a bunch of JoJo's pictures behind me and a background that doesn't fit the whole screen, but I guess it's all just a matter of perspective. Kind of like bulges. Sir, can I ask you how you feel about bulges? Oh, me too. I'm turned on by an anime character. Jonathan Joestar is my king. Don't kink shame me. Hi, I'm Soulcifer, a scientist. Hi, I'm Soulcifer, a scientist with a haircut. So in part one, we're going to talk about my opinion on whose member is the biggest. And before I get into that, I kind of just want to say a little disclaimer. So let's have a Kazoozle break together, or a sweet tart rope break. Don't ask me why I picked this item of candy, but use your imagination. So, okay. I want to just say, this first part is going to be very vapid and has no indication on how I actually feel about people. It's just a judgment of someone's character by their body. I still like personality a lot. Don't come at me in the comments, because this is going to sound vain, but this has to be my honest opinion on whose is bigger. We'll start off with Jonathan Joestar. Now, Jonathan is what got me into JoJo's. You know, he's just like the boy next door, kind of sexy without trying kind of JoJo character. And, but I'm personally going to make a little snap judgment that it being much further in the past, that he would maybe have one of the smaller sized ones out of the group. And I still think as a whole that the Joestars are going to be quite gifted. I would say my instant guess for Jonathan Joestar would probably be around 6.5 inches. Above average, nothing crazy, but like plenty to get you going. Moving down the family tree, we'll go to Joseph Joestar. Now, Joseph is a ladies' man. He sleeps around a lot. Like, I don't even know how much he slept around, but he cheated on his wife. So, and he's kind of like, he aged into like a real nice daddy. So we're going to go with, I'm going to say he's bigger than Jonathan. He's going to be around like 7.5 in my opinion. I mean, his confidence is like through the roof. I could go off of their figures, but they're all like beefers, like they're all huge. So, well, besides Giorno, maybe a little bit. Giorno's a little more slender, but some slender guys are gonna go in. Moving down the family tree a little bit further, we're gonna go through Jotaro, and Jotaro, in my opinion, is the biggest. I mean, his confidence level is just like, okay, he has a big dick. It doesn't matter what you think. He has a big dick. Like, there's no question about it. Like, he exudes confidence. He exudes like hammer energy, just pure hammer energy. So there's no way he's not the biggest. I'm going to place him at like a solid 9.5, like super eggplanty, because yeah, he would just like, I'll refrain. Moving down the family tree a little bit further, we're going to go to Josuke. And personally, I think he is the smallest. I think he would be, because one, well, he's not as attractive to me, and that's a really important factor in my snap judgment of someone. Are they attractive to me? I'm gonna go with a solid 5.5 inches. Nothing to turn your nose up at by any means. Just the hair screams trying too hard, and this season has kind of the lower ranked for me, and I know that's not how a lot of people feel, and it's just my opinion on the matter. But Josuke is just not my favorite Joestar. He just didn't exude the same kind of energy, the same kind of confidence. So yeah, my opinion would be it'd be around 5.5. Last but not least, moving further down the family tree, we're gonna go to Giorno Giovanni. And I actually think, like, if I just say a number really quickly, it'd probably be like, I would say like 8. I mean, he's like more in the slender type, but I think he'd be one of those guys where you'd be like, is he? And then his pants would come down, you'd be like, wow, he is definitely a shower. Like the rest might be growers, but he's a shower, like 100%. And it's probably like more thin. Let's not get into that, but it's probably like more thin, you know. So yeah, Giorno, let's put it like an 8. So let's put these all on the screen, kind of tally them up, and we move into part 2 and we look at more scientifically what the averages are. We can kind of see how wrong my guesses were. Now we're going to dive into part 2 of this, what I'm now going to deem the eggplant experiment. And you can trust me because I am a scientist. I drink out of a beaker. My assumption for Jonathan was that he'd be around 6.5 inches. After doing a little bit of research, I can tell you that everywhere that I'm looking, and from what kind of research I've done in the past on my own time, there is no actual correlation between your foot size, body size, weight, and your penis size. Now, there is a correlation, but it's usually weak. As you can see from these examples, as you can see, penis size technically is genetic, but it's a mixture of your X and Y chromosomes. And you can inherit different genes from different parents. So even twins can have different looking Ds. And just so we're aware, this article currently is Healthline, and these are all the sources on this article. I've actually found quite a few sources on this. If we move throughout the different sources I found, anything with shoe size or foot size, the answer is no. Just to give a few different examples, this is another research experiment that was done, and the supposed association with penile length and shoe size has no scientific basis. I did find information that a few studies were completed saying there was a correlation, but then a second study was completed saying the correlation was weak at best. Here is yet another article mentioning that other studies have found a connection between penis size of height or weight. One Italian study. As you can see, the two different studies said that it was highly correlated, and then the other study said it was weakly correlated. So that means there's no actual evidence saying that there's any correlation between the size of your body. So most people would just go off of, you know, which person has the biggest foot size or which person has the biggest attributes, but that's not always correct. Although it can be an indicator of, you know, your soft length, it's not always an indicator of your hard length. There's a lot of different research on this, and this is very serious business, and I take this super seriously, just so you all know. This article also says there's no correlation between a man's foot or shoe size with his penis size. So the different factors seem to be a man's physical attributes. Then it kind of goes off of ethnicity, where the person was born. So you can go through those genetic traits to see how big someone, you know, on average could be from that location. I did look through a few different studies, and most are kind of the same, but the study with the most source material on it is from I believe a UK study. This study is from worlddata.info, and you can see its data sources right here, in which I read through all of them. BJU International. Well, there's various different studies, and then there's the World Penis Average Size, there's SurveyMonkey. So it's not going to be 100% accurate by any means, because it doesn't seem that there is a specific study. Now, there were different studies of 50 participants or less, but they weren't all from different ethnicities. So it's not going to have a valid conclusion, in my opinion. So instead, we're just going to use this as the evidence that we have for now, unless something more accurate comes out in the future. Maybe we should do a survey. Well, I guess I did that for this, but what is the most accurate? You know, out of all the evidence and sources that are listed here, nothing is as conclusive as I'd like it to be. I mean, why aren't we funding this? This is very important research to some people. Starting off with Jonathan Joestar. Now, I estimated he'd be around 6.5 inches off of my initial guess. Now, going off of his, we can just ignore all of their size because they're pretty much all the same size. So even if that was a factor, it wouldn't be, besides Giorno, and in this case, and you know, they're all from the same genetic background. They just have different mothers. So I'm basically going to base a lot of this information off of the average dick size, and by the average dick size by location and ethnicity. So going off first, Jonathan Joestar was actually born in England, the UK. This study only breaks it down by the UK. So the UK's average erect length is going to be 13.13 centimeters. And because I'm a scientist, I know how to do that kind of conversion. So the average dick size in the UK is 5.24 inches. My guess was 6.5. Now you could estimate because of their size, but like I said before, that's really not enough scientific evidence for that. So we're gonna go that I overshot Jonathan's estimate by a little bit over an inch. Now, as we move down the line, we can kind of use the information from what we know about the people that the Joestars married. Now, voiceover Soulcifer here. I said some really stupid stuff in that footage that did not make any sense according to the family tree that I just found. So I'm gonna go with this instead. So you're just gonna hear my voice for a second. This one's nice and brief though. If we look further down the family tree, we can see that Jonathan and Irina made a baby, and his name was George Joestar. George then got it on with Elizabeth Joestar, which made Joseph Joestar. All of these characters are UK based, so it wouldn't change the estimate from the last guess that I made, which would be 5.24 inches. So if we add that on here, so if we compare that to my original guess, that means that'd be a little bit over 2 inches off. If we move further down the line, we can see that Susie Q and Joseph had a daughter named Holly. She married a Japanese man who gave birth to Jotaro. This means that the average dick size would be 5.54 inches because the UK average is 5.24, the Italian average is 6.04, and the Japanese average is 5.34. So the total average is 5.54. Now, I guessed 9.5 inches for Jotaro, and while that is not the word of law, as there are always above and below average people, I still think he'd be the best in bed. That's all I'll say about that. It's not disappointing because all these sizes are fine. Everyone is perfect exactly how they are. I feel like there's a big stigma about dick size, and yeah, this video is making fun of it, but it's really cool to see the averages lower than what everyone would say their ideal size would be, because the ideal size is a little bit ridiculous in the first place. It's really just another judgment placed on, you know, how someone should be or act. But let's not get into that. This is the scientific section, not my opinion. Now, Josuke also has Japanese origins, so that means we can use the 5.34 average previously that we found out for Japan and the 5.24 average for the UK to get Josuke's average of 5.29. Now, I had guessed around 5.5 for Josuke, so it's not that far off, and the only one that I kind of guessed in the right realm of things, although nothing's right about this because it's just a guess and an estimate overall. Finally, that brings us to Giorno, which I guessed 8 inches. Now Giorno's mother was also Japanese, so I guess you could put him in the same realm of things. Now, the main difference with Giorno is it is actually Jonathan's body with Dio's head. It doesn't really change things much because they're both from the UK, so if you take the UK average of 5.24 with the unnamed woman that Dio consummated, she was from Japan, so the average of Japan is 5.34, so Giorno's average would be 5.29. Now, I guessed 8 inches because I didn't really look at this chart beforehand, and I just assumed he was of Italian descent, but from all the research I did, this is accurate. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I still stand by the fact that he's probably a shower and his hair is already phallic enough, so I'm kind of alright with this average. And that means, my friends, that we have come to the end of the eggplant experiments, and thank you for joining me on this long, treacherous journey. Why I've done this, no one will know, and I'll end this video now because it seems like I've been editing it for an eternity, and I have nothing else to say. Let me know in the comments below who you think is the most attractive Joestar, and I apologize for tarnishing any pure thoughts that you previously had. Bye!